Good morning, ghosties and ghoulies. Welcome back to the channel. It's that time again. It's the beginning of December, so I'm going to be doing a pick-a-pile reading for the month of December. So if you're unfamiliar with this, basically what I'm going to do is lay out 3 piles of cards with 3 candles. Give you a moment or two to concentrate on the different piles and candles, and whichever one is drawn that you feel most drawn to, that is your reading. And of course there'll be timestamps down below in the information box so that you don't have to watch all of the readings. You can just go straight to the one that's most applicable to you. Of course you're welcome to watch all of them. You never know what you might get out of it. So what I'm going to do is zoom the camera in and we'll get started. Okay, so these are the 3 piles, and we have a yellow candle, a blue candle, and a lavender candle. And if you just take a few moments, get yourself to breathe a little bit and focus in on which pile and candle you are most drawn to, and that will be your reading. So just take a moment to do that. Okay, so we're going to start with the yellow candle today. So this is your reading, yellow candle. All right. Okay, so it seems like there are some messagings around money for you. These are positive messages that are going to be happening over the course of the month for you, and it's definitely good things to be looking out for. So you have some positive messaging around material goods. And it's something that you're not aware of right now. There might be a sense of a feeling like there's a surprise gift or a surprise inheritance of some sort, but some kind of money that you're not aware of yet that is actually coming to you. And it seems to be coming to something it's from something untraditional. This isn't like your grandmother sending you $50 for Christmas. This is something that's a very untraditional way of getting money. So there may be a feeling of, it may feel more like, it does feel like a gift or an inheritance or something of that nature, but it feels like it's unexpected. Okay. Over the course of December, you're going to find that you are feeling better, but there is a sense of overwhelming yourself with things as well. The Ace of Cups in its upright position usually means abundance, and it means an overabundance of everything in your life to the point where you can overflow into other people's lives and share with them. This is actually in its reverse position, which means that although you have abundance in your life and you do have good things going on in your life, there's a feeling of you're overtaxing yourself, you're overworking, and you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, and to the point, and giving so much of yourself that you are empty again. So you need to kind of reserve your energy and reserve your material goods as well. It feels like your tendency to be overspending and to be overly generous this Christmas might be there. But the warning in the reading is to not let yourself be depleted. It's fine to be generous, and it's fine to share yourself with others and to share your goods with others, but you need to also retain something for yourself so that you don't feel depleted. Okay, there are people and things around you from childhood. So you may be finding that over the course of December you are starting to have nostalgia around your childhood, and have people and places from your childhood start to re-emerge into your life. For some of you, I'm feeling like there is a negative aspect to this. There's a feeling of having not had the best childhood and having to have interactions with people that you have left behind, and people that you have intentionally left behind to serve you better in your life, which I mean, that happens in families, it happens in life, that there are times when you have to leave childish things behind and childhood things behind and people behind. But it's a feeling like there's a reemergence over the course of December for you, for people that you haven't seen in a long time connected to childhood, and in connecting in a negative way. So you might find that if you're at family gatherings over Christmas, that some of the tensions might be running high between you and some other people in your family. Okay, I feel that for most of you, you're in a pretty good place with the Queen of Wands coming up. The Queen of Wands isn't necessarily a woman, it's just coming up as a significator in this because it has a female energy around it. And that's a very nurturing energy, okay? The Queen of Wands is very connected to spirit, it's connected to earth, pets, animals, children, all of those kinds of wonderful things. It's in its upright position, which means that you are actually coming into a period of feeling good and feeling more connected, and your energy is more connected to earth energy and to that part of your personality. The only caveat with this, even though she is in her upright position, is that Wands, the Queen of Wands in particular, because it's very connected to earth, it's connected with growing things, you might be coming into a period of feeling a little bit not so great because you can't be out in nature as much. Well, you can be out in nature, but the growing things in your garden are dying. You can't. You might find that it would serve you well to actually get some indoor plants and that kind of thing to spend time with that kind of energy, because I feel that that's very necessary for you to be connected in that way. Okay, there is a feeling of being in two places with this person, with you. This is definitely not for all of the yellow flame people, but there is a feeling of being kind of at war with wanting to be in two places at the same time. So whether you have two different celebrations or two different sides of the family that you want to visit over Christmas, there is a feeling of having to kind of war that out a little bit. There is a feeling of a little bit of stuckness around that, and a feeling like, and this goes back to the childhood thing too. This may be someone in your past in one of these places that you're being drawn to go to over Christmas, that it's feeling like they don't treat you like you're a grown-up. This might be for some of my younger people, returning home and feeling like your parents are not treating you like an adult, even though you are an adult and you are on your own and you're perfectly capable of taking care of everything you need to take care of. There is still a war of feeling like your own home is your home, and the home that you had as a child is still your home, but the people there are not letting you grow up, that's problematic. So you may find yourself having a few conversations and a few, I don't want to say confrontations, because it's not really confrontational, but it is definitely some boundaries that you need to set for some people around you. Because if you don't, you're going to find that you're depleted, your energy is quite depleted, and you're not going to have as good a time over the Christmas season as you would like to otherwise. Because things are changing, and I think part of what's happening here is that the people, like I said, this is not for all of my yellow flame people, but for some of you, the feeling of growing out of your childhood is quite represented here. And part of it is having the adults in your life, like your parents, your mother, your father, and those kinds of people, take you seriously as an adult, and that can be quite depleting, because it's almost like you're trying to prove to them that you are, and you don't have anything to prove. You don't have to prove anything to them. They are quite stuck in their ways, and that's why the Hierophant is coming up reversed. The Hierophant is about tradition. It's about doing things in a traditional way. And you may be feeling pressure to be at home or to be with people and to celebrate this holiday, even if you don't really feel like it. For some of you, for some of my yellow flame people, there is a feeling of not wanting to let go of the summer months and the spring and the fall. There's a feeling of not wanting to go into Christmas. There's a feeling of not wanting to relinquish that part of the year that is warm and is more where you feel more connected. I think for some people, for a lot of people actually, and this is true across the board, and it's probably going to show itself in the other readings today, the holiday season can be quite depressing and quite a challenge. It can be a challenge with relatives, and it can be a challenge with yourself. So know that you are challenged and be aware when you go in that you might have to set some boundaries. I think it's very important that you do that because temperance is coming up. Temperance is about a couple of things. It's about being temperate in your mood, it's about being temperate in your actions, but it's also about physical things going on. Temperance is about balance, it's about physical balance, and it's about, for some of my yellow flame people, it feels like there is some illness around Christmas time, and there's a remembrance of illness around Christmas time, meaning that for some of you, you've lost people around this time. You are doing okay. I think health-wise, things look good over the holiday period and over the end of the year. But there is a feeling of having had imbalances and things that aren't working quite right over the year. Know that you are coming out of that. It is still important for you to remain balanced in your physicality, which means if you know you have problems, if you're diabetic, if you have other kinds of illnesses that are, ongoing, please don't let go of your self-care over the Christmas period. It's very, very easy to fall into old habits. It's very, very easy to fall into bad habits, but this is telling me that you need to maintain what you're doing for the sake of your health over Christmas. So that is your reading, and I am going to read you your Tikashi card now. Humor. Great card. See the funny side of life. Laugh at yourself. Laughter is love. Learn your life's lessons with laughter, and you'll travel your path with a light and happy heart. Release melancholy, heaviness, and austere practices in favor of some good, clean fun. Laughter. Enjoy a good time with friends, and let your spirit soar. So, what I was saying about how this applies, and it does apply, when you're feeling conflicted, when you feel like people aren't taking you seriously, when you're facing some hard things from your past over the season, sometimes it's better to just look at it in a more lighthearted way. Take it with a grain of salt in what people say around you, and actually, it's probably best to just, try and laugh at yourself a little bit more. Don't take yourself so seriously. Part of this growing up process that a lot of my yellow flame people are doing is learning not to take yourself so seriously. And it's so tempting to take yourself so seriously because you are trying to grow and you are trying to grow up and become independent and to be seen as an independent, serious adult. But there is such a thing as taking yourself too seriously. And humor is a great tool for diffusing any kind of situations where you feel there's conflict going on, or you're starting to sink into that feeling of overwhelmedness around the holidays can happen too. But if you try and approach it with humor and try and approach it in a lighthearted manner, maintain your balance, set some boundaries, I think that this season is actually going to be pretty good for you. So that's your reading. That's my yellow flame people. All the bright blessings to the yellow flame people. Okay, so our next reading is with the blue flame. Let's see what's going on with you. Okay, there is a feeling of some of the blue flame people will be overextending themselves over this holiday season, and trying to be everywhere at once, and also spending more than you should. So please be aware that you do not need to do that. Okay, it is feeling like there's a certain feeling around you of wanting to. There's quick movement. There's a lot of going on. There's a lot of different irons in the fire for you, and a feeling of changes happening very quickly, and situations evolving quite quickly, and that all comes back to affect you on a financial and material level. So whatever's happening, it's coming in quick. There is a feeling of needing to ask for help. There's a feeling of conflict as well. I've got two situations going on. One is a monetary situation in which you may need to be looking at getting some financial help and having to ask someone that you don't necessarily want to. There is also a feeling of conflict between the King of Pentacles and the Emperor. Now the Emperor is someone in your life that is your touchstone, it's your rock, it's someone like a father figure or someone like a mother figure even. But somebody who's been there for you, someone who's very much a rock, very solid for you. It's very much a foundation card. But you are changing and situations are changing, and you may find this is the same person that you are starting to experience conflict with, because they've always been there for you, but now things are changing very rapidly over the course of November. For some of my December people, sorry, my blue flame people, this can mean a couple of things. One is that you need to withdraw and spend a little more time alone, because there are rapidly changing events happening in your family and in your situation. And for some of the blue flame people, unfortunately, I feel like there are some losses that are happening. Not for everyone that chose the blue flame, but for some. And if you've chosen the blue flame and you're not experiencing this, it's probably because you have a past history of experiencing this at this time of year, okay? There is a feeling of loss. There may actually be some deaths over the Christmas season, over the holiday season. Even if there hasn't been, there's a feeling of things changing rapidly and losses happening rapidly. There's a feeling of wanting to withdraw from the world quite a bit. But here's what you need to hear from me. And even if this is something that is happening with you, and now this is not happening for all the blue flame people, and I'll explain why. This is very specific to a few people that might be watching this. If you aren't experiencing this, and you're not going to experience this is coming up because this is seasonal for you, and there may be seasonal losses that have happened in your life, and this is very common. And you may be coming into a period of depression and feeling like you've experienced so much loss and that there's nothing left, but there is something left, and that is the message. That is the huge message in this reading so far. The Five of Cups is about loss, but it's about having things left over from loss. And if you look at the card, you can see very clearly there's grief happening and very clearly there's loss happening. But if you look at what you're not looking at is what everything that is left. And you do have things that are left. So you may actually be experiencing some depression and some feelings of loss over this season, for some of my blue flame people. Some of the Christmas season and the holiday season isn't always a positive thing for a lot of people. A lot of people experience depression at this time of year. And there is a feeling of depression around this reading, and a feeling of things being tinged with sadness. For some of you, there are losses coming, but you have to realize that there are lessons and there is something left out of those losses as well. You never truly lose anybody as long as you remember them. Yeah, and there is feeling of separation. There's definitely somebody drawn to this reading who is losing someone, and who is separated. And that can be through death, or this can be through marital separations, separations because you're across the country and the rest of your family is somewhere else. It can mean those things as well. So this is the feeling of grieving around this, and grieving around separation, loss, and past deaths. There's a deep feeling of some of you may be experiencing seasonal affective disorder as well as dealing with this. So it might be good for you to maybe, find some way of addressing that with, UV light or whatever you need to do in order, and even just getting out when it's daylight still and going out for a walk at lunch hour if you get a break from work will help you. So there's definitely deep feelings of some loss around you, but this is where it gets good, is that you do have things coming to you that are good. You have to realize that these things happen and they change. They change you, but they also change. The world changes. Nothing stays the same. Grief is a hard burden to bear, but it's definitely bearable. Even though it doesn't feel like that sometimes, it is. And you do have good aspects coming out of that. The Knight of Cups shows me that everything that you learn from the problems that you go through are teaching you a couple of things. One is a positive and one is a negative, and that's what these two cards are. The Knight of Cups means that you are going to start being able to access your emotional intelligence a lot more than you have, and connect with yourself in a way and other people in a way that you haven't before. So the things that you pull out of grief are your openness and willingness to love and be loved, which is one of the greatest gifts of the world. The other thing that you're pulling out of the grief, not everybody, is a negative. And this is a material card. The Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles isn't always a negative. The Queen of Pentacles in her upright is not a negative. However, she's in her reverse position, which means that there is a possibility of sinking into a more miserly mindset and feeling like you don't have enough and feeling lack in your life and feeling material lack in your life. And that somehow, the reason it connects to grief and connects to this prior party reading is for some of you, the feeling is you have to protect yourself materially because no one else will be there for you forever. And you have to always be in control financially and materially, and you don't have enough to share, and you have lack in your life. This is a lesson that you're teaching yourself that is a negative, because it's not true. I can tell you it's not true, because you have everything you need, because you have this card. And this card is about having enough to share, having enough emotionally to share, and being okay. And having really positive messaging around love and around relationships and around having people around you that are there for you. So the caveat is to don't get mired down in the material world. And now this applies to everyone in this reading. It feels like this is a word for everyone in this reading, whether you've gone through a period of grief and things that have made you want to cling to material things because they're easier. They don't go anywhere, whereas people will leave you, either through death or whatever means. People do move on. That is part of life. But the greater watchword is that this is a season where love is king. Love is the key, love is the message, and it doesn't matter what you can or can't give materially, so don't get bogged down in that. If you don't have enough to buy presents for people, don't buy presents for people. Tell them you love them, send them messages of love, write them a card, sing them a song, do whatever it takes to let them know that you love them. And you can do that in very simple ways that don't involve spending a lot of money and overtaxing yourself, okay? Love isn't equal to material goods. Love is greater than material goods. You don't need to go and spend $1 million on gifts for people. That isn't what people need. People need to know that you love them, and that's what the Knight of Cups is about. It's messages of love. It's messages of compassion. It's messages of understanding. It's the giving and receiving of love. So that is a very, very strong and profound message for my blue flame people over the course of the holiday season. So I'm going to read your Tikiashi. Surrender. Okay. Surrender to the highest force. Surrender to the highest force of your being and expect that which is always for your highest purpose. Let go and live. You do not need to control the direction. Simply surrender to the energy of all. You need not use your logical mind to create miracles. Only know that the answer to a question comes when you let go of the need to have that answer. Okay, so this is pretty interesting, and I would say when you surrender to the highest force of your being, is what they're asking you to do in this card. It's surrendering to your ability to love other people and to not force solutions, to not force things. You can't buy people's affection. So it goes back to those two cards. Again, it goes back to these two cards. You can't buy people's affection. And if you just let people be what they are and don't try to do that and just be with them and be yourself, be open and be loving, you will find the people are getting what they need from you, and you don't need to force anything. Surrender to that, and it's not logical. Love isn't logical. Love is spiritual, and it will never be and has never been logical. So you can say, "Oh, I bought this person so many wonderful gifts, and they don't accept me, or they don't." This may be even talking about younger people in your life, children in your life, is feeling rejected or other love relationships in your life, feeling rejected, or feeling like, even though you're doing everything you can, you've bought them wonderful gifts over Christmas, that is not what they need. They need time with you, and they need legitimate and real contact emotionally. So surrender to that. So that is your message for December. All the bright blessings to my blue flame people. Okay, so this reading is for my lavender flame people. Okay, there's a feeling of Queen of Swords is a significator card. This is somebody who's very strong-willed, very good mind, very sharp in business, very able to cut through a lot of the problems of life and the world. So this is feeling very positive so far. It's feeling like my lavender flame people are very much in touch with what they need to do in the world, and they are actually very good at getting what they want and doing what they want. And this is very, very positive so far. It does cause you to take some leaps of faith that you probably shouldn't take otherwise. There is a feeling of risk around you at this time. There's also a feeling of needing to be careful. When the Fool shows up in a reading, it is indicative of the possibility of accidents happening, and it just means that you're extra clumsy and you need to be a little bit more cautious this year, going into the end of the year. And there's also a feeling of because you are so out in the world a lot and there's so much going on, that accidents can happen. So you need to be aware of that. There is a feeling of situations around the lavender flame people that are opportunities being given to you, different invitations being extended to you, and the feeling around it is that you need to make a decision about where you want to be and who and what you want to be doing at the end of the year, and you're not 100% happy with anything that's being offered to you. So it may be a time to withdraw and think about what you really want over the next year, because there are new opportunities coming towards you. There is a feeling of negative messaging around. This card is indicative of fertility and childbearing. So there may be some of my lavender flame people that are struggling with that to a certain extent. That's okay, because I have a feeling that isn't where you need to be right now. The Queen of Swords coupled with the World means that there are changes happening and situations that you're going to be dealing with over the next year and going into December, where it's almost the timing isn't right for anything like that for a lot of people. A lot of the lavender flame people will be feeling that way. Anybody who is looking at starting to think about pregnancy and think about that kind of thing, the feeling is that the timing is just a little bit off for that. And I definitely feel like there's some struggle financially. You might be taking some financial hits over the month of December. You may be overextending yourself over the Christmas and holiday season. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, that you need to be watching your finances a little bit more closely than you have been. Because there is a feeling of giving to charity around you and being very charitable to people around you and very generous to people around you and organizations around you. You need to be aware that you don't overextend yourself, okay? Because that is definitely a feeling around my lavender flame people. And that could also lend itself to this kind of foolhardiness of saying, yes, I can afford, but you can't really. You need to actually be very aware of your finances and be very aware of that you're not overextending yourself. Yeah, you do have some love coming into your life and resurgence of spiritual love coming into your life. And what that means is a connection to the divine, a connection. You might find that over the course of the season you're becoming more connected to the divine, or feeling like you need to be more connected to God, or as you see them. And this is something that actually is very cool and coinciding with a lot of religious holidays. And there may actually be, for some of my Lavender Flame people, it means that the connection needs to be greater for you and that you need to kind of revisit some of your own spirituality. For some of the Lavender Flame people, however, it does actually mean the opposite. And you may find that you're feeling outside of celebration and outside of the holiday because you aren't connected to any kind of spirituality in the way of the traditional sense, or in the way of how your family is. You might find yourself feeling outside of celebrations. That's okay, as long as you're aware that this is that time of year, and you can find your own ways of celebrating things. It doesn't have to be connected to religion necessarily. Spirituality and religion are separate entities in my books. They don't live on the same planet. Religion is a human concept. Spirituality and spirit is not a human concept, and we don't. It's not the same. The rules aren't the same, and the strictures and judgments aren't the same. That stuff doesn't exist in the spirit realm. It only exists in our concept of what the spirit realm is, and our ideas and laws around the spirit realm. So know that if you're feeling outside of the celebrations this year, that you can create your own celebrations, you can create your own traditions, and you can certainly find the divine inside yourself. You can find it in the world. You can find it in nature. It doesn't have to be in terms of religion, and you don't have to celebrate that way. Like I said, your watchwords are watch your finances. You don't need to overextend yourself. That isn't how people need you in their life. They don't need your financial stuff. They need your attention and your time and your love, and to spend time with them. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware that you're being safe in everything that you do, and being careful. Those are definitely watchwords for my Lavender people over the course of December. I don't see anything crazy major, but in a general reading I wouldn't anyway. I do feel like you might be taking some financial hits, and that's okay. You can pull yourself out next year, but be aware of it. Don't overextend your credit cards. Make sure that you have enough. Being charitable is wonderful. It gives you great feelings. But the message is, don't overextend. Even you can still be charitable and not overextend yourself. So I'm going to read your Tiki Ashi card. Stillness. Okay. Take time to be still and appreciate the beauty in every moment. Quiet your busy mind and allow still softness of peace to envelop you. Do not rush into anything, but sit meditatively, and in this stillness your answers may be found. To attain what has always eluded you, be still and allow it to land upon you, as a feather would gently float onto your hand. Do your wishes descend upon you. This goes back to not rushing into things, and really, it's this. Be careful of what you're doing. Be self-aware. Have an awareness of your surroundings. And don't rush into things. The Fool is somebody who does rush into things a lot, and it came up in its reverse format for you. So I would say that the desire to kind of rush situations and rush around and run around may be something that you need to pull away from for a while. The message in this, as far as being still, certainly I think applies to you, and it's understandable in the reading that I just read. So those are your things to think about over the course of December, and all my bright blessings to my Lavender people. Well, I hope that you enjoyed your readings, and I hope that they were helpful to you. I hope that you are going into the season with a heart full of love and peace, and that you find every happiness and get everything you want over the course of the season. If you don't, and if you aren't feeling the best about this season because of whatever reasons that you may have, be it grief or just overwork, know that the wheel changes. The wheel of fortune always changes, and if you're on the downside of it now, you will be on the upside of it again. You just have to give it enough time. I hope that this helped, and I hope to see you next time. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell. I always love to hear if this has helped people in the situations that they've dealt with that are connected to this, so please do leave a message, or even private message me if you'd like. In the meantime, I hope that you are staying well. Please be safe, and don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night, because they're there in the light too.
There is more to life than going through the motions like an exercise.